Welcome to the program
again. Thank you, sir. Well, the first one was an this is our refresher.
This is practice.
Interview.
Yeah, this is it. What got you into acting? Can't be that train, right?
No. I got kicked off a train right in front of a theater and decided to go in, and that's what I did.
Say, hey, what are you guys doing here? Oh, okay, that's all right. Come on.
Well, what got me into theater? Can we talk now?
No, let's go. Yeah, what got you into theater?
I did theater all the way through about the 8th grade. To the extent that you could do it back in the dark ages when I was there. It's not like it is now, where these kids can start acting at age 4, right, and then being three musicals a year starting then. But no, our teacher, our drama teacher in the 7th and 8th grade was universally disliked by us, and actually that was a shame because he continued on to high school. So I, along with
continued.
Well, he was teaching at the high school as well as the middle school. Yeah. So
what was his deal? Why was he disliked? The power trip? What's the deal?
I don't really know. I think he had some head problems. That's what we'll decide. I mean, we were kids. What do we?
Right.
Maybe all directors are that way. I haven't noticed it.
I don't know, but I have seen that. We had that back in Plano. There was people would complain about the director as being really on a real power trip.
Yeah. Well, there are temperament issues there, and maybe he was a perfectionist. I'm not sure. He, looking back on it, he was probably a pretty good director, probably a very good speech teacher, but just was not the kind of person that was going to make it fun for us.
Not good for kids, maybe.
Yeah, right.
I mean, like I said, it does take a special talent to work with kids.
And he had students that worked with him. It's just none of them were the people that were in the school with me at the time, or class with me at the time, when we were in the 8th grade. He did do one favor to me. Being a good East Texas boy, I don't know how to say the word C-A-N''T. It always came out can't. And I was playing the part of in the Interscholastic League play, the drunken uncle who basically couldn't accomplish much of anything.
Right.
And so every other word was C-A-N''T.
That's true.
And all I can remember is this voice coming from the back of the dark auditorium, because he sat back there and we were on the stage, you couldn't see him. Every time I said can't, I heard, "It's can't, Matthew." So I say can't now.
You got the.
I'll give him that much credit. He broke me of that one. So
you didn't have as much opportunity. I mean, you're right. There was less opportunity, I think, than now. There's so many different groups that provide theater opportunities for kids and youth.
Yeah, and there may have been a lot more in different cities. I was in Beaumont, which is not a big city.
Right.
Not a hamlet by any stretch of the imagination, but. No, there were no private places, at least as I remember, where you could go and take acting classes. I mean, you could do some dance. I suppose you could be in a choir or something somewhere, but nothing that is of what the offering that children have now in this city, which is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
And anyway, when I got older, and we had 5 kids, so when they were growing up, I would always tell my wife, I'd love to get back in and do some acting, but I don't know where to go, number one, with my limited talent and opportunity, and number 2, I don't have any idea.
So your kids never really got into it?
No, not really.
Into sports? What were they into?
They're sports.
They're sports. Okay.
Sports. Photography, sports. They were for the most part very good students. So.
Right.
But the classes that I could find were for children. They weren't really for adults. They stopped in the teens. And also, I don't know where I was going to find the time to do it. I was not going to be real popular if I wasn't around the house with that many people in it. So
minor detail, yeah.
So anyway, it just something that was kind of cataloged or filed away as something I'd like to do someday.
Sure.
And then one day at the high school where my daughters went, the 4 girls, they were doing a presentation of our town.
Right.
Being a private high school, it had a small smattering of boys that had any interest whatsoever in theater. And there's a male-heavy component to that particular play. Yes. So they put out a cast call for parents. And I landed the part of Joe Stoddard, the Undertaker. For no reason other than the fact at that time I was very skinny. I'd just been on a big diet, so I looked like an Undertaker. I don't now. But at any rate, they liked what they saw me do, and we got to be friends, and they called me back the next year to be the old Dracula and Dracula, and that was fun. And then got involved with a theater group that these guys had put together and was on the board. And not that it was a vanity type of situation, but there was a place that I could be in a musical they had called Bat Boy the Musical, so I did that. And as that went along, I started meeting people in the trade and got to where I started taking some lessons from some people. And one day just said, "Oh, I see that." I found out where Theater Port was, actually. Okay, yeah. And I said, I'm just going to start going on some auditions. If I get something, I get something. If I don't, the good news for me was I got a day job, and this is an avocation that's something that's fun. Right. So if I don't get the part, the world doesn't come to an end. Right. It's closer to coming to an end getting a part that doesn't pay you a thing anyway than not getting it. But and so I started getting a part here and a part there, and I started realizing what it takes to do an audition. And actually, I find auditioning fun. It can be. I think people initially when they do it, they think of it as daunting, but sometimes that's the only performance you may get to do. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. It can catch you. It depends on what you're walking into. If I feel somewhat prepared, if I found the copy of the script, if I've read it, I know the types of characters and have some sense of what they're going to do. I am not a look at it in 10 minutes and knock you dead with a cold read type of person. Some people can do that, and I'm really impressed when they can. Yeah. But, I just don't have the context or anything else. I mean, like the part I'm playing in this one, I think I did a pretty good read on that, but I knew the kind of jerk he was. Right. By the work I'd done. Right. And no, I think homework is important, and I think people underestimate that. I think, and I'm not saying people are lazy, it's just that maybe they don't have the time, or they just, let's just go see what we can do. And so there is definitely a skill to cold reading. But, you can only take it so far, because after that, then you are going to have to study, Well, yeah, and you've got to, it depends. There's some things you've seen over and over again. Sure. Or that you can pick up quickly on YouTube and just get some sense of what's going on, like the Fantastics when I auditioned for that one. But this was a pretty obscure script. Yeah, it's probably not the easiest one to find. Well, it was easy to find. Amazon had it. Right. But it wasn't easy. There was no knowledge that I had without reading the script. Right. And, I tend to buy the scripts before I go on these. Well, that's good. Not a lot of people do. Yeah. These people try to find it. We'll get calls. Hey, do you have the script? Can I get a copy or that kind of thing? Or borrow it. Sometimes the libraries, will have copies of things and you can get them, but sometimes they're also checked out by the high school. Yeah, and sometimes you get a script very difficult, like Drowsy Chaperone. Yeah, I couldn't find it anywhere. No. So you were able to help me out with that. But it's not a, there are times when they just don't want to. I was looking at a play that some small company is doing in Houston, and I can't even find much about the playwright. I don't know where they're going to get the scripts they're going to use. Really? Because I've tried to. Is it a local playwright or? No. It's actually, it was a play that won some kind of an award or something like that. But interesting. I can't find the script online anywhere. The normal places, Amazon usually always has these. Unless, they might be used, but they have them. Right. So, but normally you can get them, and if you're kind of planning out what you're going to do, you get them with a couple of weeks at least before you're going to do something. But let's talk about it. You say you were on the board, a theater board, right? Yes. Okay, so how long has that group been around? Generations Theater, it was started by a couple of guys who were the drama coaches or drama teachers, theater arts teachers, that's the right word, at the Fiscal High School in Houston. And they decided to start something. It would only be really during the summer. They wanted to have something where they combined students who would pay to be in the performance with professional actors who would be paid, and that way the students could learn something from the being with the pros. They had their first show probably about 2008. So it's not that long ago. No. And then there was one show that summer. It was a show called Ruthless. I don't know if you've ever heard it or seen it. That's not the one similar to like the Bette Midler thing. Is that different? Or no, there was a movie called Ruthless. That's Bette Midler and whoever else did. Shelley Long or something. Was that the one that was? No, this is a musical about it. It's kind of there's almost three stories woven into it. The Bad Seed being one of them. If you remember that movie. No. It's about a bad girl, little girl who kills everybody all the time and stuff. Okay. Anyway, it's very funny. It's a cute musical. And then the next year they didn't do anything, and then the next year they kind of really decided to start a board, and I got on the board with them. So we've had seasons. We did Bad Boy the Musical, then the next year combination of the play Art and the musical Spring Awakening, and then the next year, which was this past summer, Our Town, and a musical called Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, which is a rock musical. And so it's, you know, they've been around 3 or 4 years, but it's not the same type of organization that you have where they're year round, where the infrastructure's right and all that type of stuff. So we'll see how that continues to develop.
No, it seems like it's doing all right. I mean, and the church obviously supports it, right? I mean, it's based at the church.
No.
It's not based at the church.
I wouldn't support Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson. You have not heard this one. Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson is, I describe it to people as well flavored with 4-letter words. Let's put it
well flavored. We have to do a count there. Click, click, click.
You don't even want to try to count them. It's a rock musical version that's pretty, from what I understand, historically accurate to the life of Andrew Jackson and his political life.
Really?
And it's very funny. At least I thought it was very funny.
Right.
And it has, but it is definitely hip.
Right.
Let's put it that way.
Right.
So, but it was fun, and that was probably one of the better productions I've heard. No, the church really has nothing to do with it. The Fiscal High School, though it is affiliated with the church, is its own school. Right. But no, they're separated. The actual performances took place at Rice.
Oh, really?
In one of their stages.
Okay.
So, and which is a very good venue for that type of thing. So, but I mean, they're not unsupportive,
right.
But I mean, they don't for any financial support or anything like that. Occasionally, on some shows, we practice at their facilities, but we pay for that. So, or rehearsed. I'm not supposed to say practiced, am I?
Well, you know, I don't do big hours, practice, whatever.
Well, for the longest time, I said tryouts and practice, and I got in lots of trouble. So now
somebody didn't like that, you know.
It's like that's the same people that say you spell theater with an R-E on the end.
Yeah, well, yeah, RE, whatever. You know, there's, I know what you're talking about. There, and I guess for whatever reason, some people, there are certain things, you know, people want, you know, we want to use this terminology. We want to think about it this way, fine, whatever, you know.
Exactly.
And most of it here, we're here to have fun. We're here to entertain people.
Yeah.
It's that simple,
right.
You know, and if we can make a little money at it, okay, that's fine. Probably not going to happen in a right-to-work state. But, you know.
Yeah, it's you know, for the people that I've met in the theater, even the professionals.
Yes.
Outside of the handful of equity actors,
yep.
And Houston doesn't have very many, only a couple of hundred.
Yeah, and there are some. Yeah. But even they will usually do a lot of
They've got to do something. They've got to teach. They've got to do something else. But they're dedicated to it. These kids make $100 a week, you know, that are the non-equities, and they just do it, and they have to have day jobs, obviously. But they take it seriously, and the level of professionalism I've seen out of them. And then the community theater group, where nobody gets paid.
Yeah.
Or if they do, I'm not one of them.
I'm not one of them either, so it doesn't matter.
It tends to cost us money, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Has really been just great people, you know.
Well, people have great stories, which is why we're doing this.
Right.
So let's talk about your story. What do you do in real life?
What do I do in real life? I am a financial advisor with a multinational financial services company. I've been in business for over 40 years. Clientele is in my end of the business. It's called retail. We deal with the individual, not the institutional client. And we offer a broad spectrum of financial planning and just general investing work with people.
So you've seen all kinds of ups and downs in the last 40 years.
I've seen, in fact, I got licensed in January of, started at the firm in August of 1972, got licensed in February of 1973, and I swear it was the day the Dow Jones broke 1,000 on its way to 550. So I saw the market drop about 50% in the first year and a half of my life. which created the battered child syndrome, I think. I'm always looking over my shoulder. I never believe any time the market goes up anymore. So,
well, yeah.
Unlike the bull market babies that I've only seen bull markets until just recently. It was easier for them to make money in that environment. They weren't. I've just been trained to look for the exits.
It was hard, not to make money, right?
Yeah. So the only way not to make money was not to play.
That's right. And I think
or you could do stupid stuff. But
well, yes. And I think sometimes we got this false notion that, I'm actually a pretty good investor, because everything was going up. It was hard to.
Yeah, there's an old saying: never confuse a bull market with brains.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what a lot of people did. So, at any rate, starting in about 2000, the lessons began to be learned, and definitely got learned in 2008 and early 2009.
So where's your job taking you? Any interesting places? Or?
No, not necessarily. I deal with a Houston-based clientele.
Really? So you don't travel that much? You miss conventions, right?
Well, yeah, we go to meetings. They're in New York City,
I guess.
And I was in Chicago earlier and when we were rehearsing for this show for some training. But there's nothing exotic. There are some club level situations you can get in based on production, and I've been to Hawaii because of that, or Palm Springs, or Scottsdale, or whatever places like that. But, what's that big place in Colorado Springs? The Broadmoor.
Okay.
But nothing like Taiwan or Bangladesh or something like that. So.
Well, for fun, where do you travel?
When we travel, not as often as I wish we would, but last year my wife and I did go to Italy for a couple of weeks, and that was a lot of fun. Spent a few days in Rome, took a train up to Venice, spent a few days there, took a train down to Florence, rented a car, and stayed at a...
you're brave.
Well, I didn't drive it in Florence.
Right.
I rented it pretty close to the middle of town, but got out of it as quick as I could.
Right.
And anytime we would go back toward town, I'd just park on the outskirts. Neat thing about Florence is it's got a historical district. Can't drive a car in anyway,
right? Unless
you're a special person, and I'm not.
Yeah. And I wouldn't think Florence is too bad relative, say, Rome or something.
Well, Rome's insanity.
Yeah. Oh no, that's crazy.
The drivers are nuts. The streets are narrow. You can't figure out where they are, and then they've got the people on motorcycles who have no fear of death.
No.
And or any type of physical pain for that matter. But no, we were in the country with the car, and we stayed at an inn that was 30, 40 miles south of Florence, and so we traveled Siena and San Giovanni, or however you pronounce that word.
Gimignano?
Gimignano.
Yeah, right.
Those places. So we were never really in the heart of heavy traffic areas. Any worse than what I got around Siena, but wasn't terrible.
Any places you want to go that you haven't been?
I'd like to go to. We've been to London and England and all around there. We've got some family up in that area. I'd like to go to Paris and France, wine country. I like wine. I'd like to spend some time there. I could still go back to Italy some more. I'd like to go to the southern part and go to the Amalfi Coast and some of those areas. Right. And my mother's parents were born shortly after their parents immigrated from Sicily. So I would like to go back. I'd like to go and see where they came from. I had a cousin of my mother one time told me at a funeral, and he said that evidently my great-grandfather was not a pleasant person in his old age. My mother described him as a bastard.
Okay.
It's about the worst thing my mother's ever said about anybody. That was her word for somebody that she thought was not too charming. And she said, he was always, got a little problem?
Keep going.
He was always, he was sickly in his old age, and just was an unhappy person. Yeah. So anyway, and this nephew, this cousin of hers was even younger than her by probably 15, 20 years.
Right.
And so he had very bad memories of Granddad. And he said that, but what he said after the war, when he went back to Sicily and saw where they came from, he said, he said, that's when I fell in love with my grandfather.
Really?
Yes. He got out of there. He said, you go to this town, and he said, you see the family, and it's all these 2-story houses, and on the ground floor they have the goats.
Yes.
And upstairs you live and you sleep and you eat. And it smells like goat poop 24 hours a day. Except
Wow.
he didn't use the word poop.
Right.
So he said, he says, I am so thankful that he made that journey and got over here and got established.
Wow.
So,
And it's interesting. Yeah, we talk about, our kids, or when as they grow up, how they treat us as parents, and then all of a sudden they hopefully appreciate us more once they get past their college years and they realize they have their own families of their own. And
well, yeah, that's like Mark Twain. What did he say? When I was 16, I thought my father was the stupidest person I ever met. By the time I was 19, I was amazed how much he'd learned in 3 years.
That's right.
No, I would like to go see, the homeland there, for lack of a better term. But it's in a part of Sicily that even my mother, when she was there, they decided not to go to. It's very difficult. It's in the center of the country, and there's a pretty good highway around the perimeter of it. But if you try to get up into the mountains, it could take a day to go 100 miles.
Wow.
Well, I know the towns to go to, but I sincerely doubt I could find anybody.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the last names are not that uncommon.
Right.
So
what parts would you like to do that you haven't done yet?
I would like to have a part where I actually had a solo. And when I was
musical.
Musical.
Okay.
When I was Howard Cunningham in Happy Days the Musical, I had a 22-second solo.
22 seconds. I've heard good things about it. How did you enjoy Happy Days?
I enjoyed the heck out of Happy Days. It's not the caliber of a Tony Award-winning musical by any stretch of the imagination, but it's got a lot of nostalgia associated with it. It's very silly. If you don't have a good Fonz, you ain't got a good Happy Days. I'll say that about it.
Right.
But we had a great Fonz. When I read that script, I said, if they have a good Fonz, it's okay. If they don't, this is the biggest bust in America. and he was good. In fact, all the actors were good in it. They added something to it, which allowed me to have fun, but I don't know how corny it was. They decided they had a couple of people that didn't have singing parts that liked the good singing parts. So they stuck in at a picnic.
Okay.
Where these guys came on and Buddy Holly showed up, or Little Richard showed up, or whatever. For the people that were in the show and in the back, it kind of dragged for them a bit because they were kind of out of the action. Howard was the host, the MC of the thing, so I got to be a complete fool for 30 minutes. I loved every second of that. But and that was a clever part of the show. It added something to it. But it's good. Is it a great musical? No.
Well, yeah, but
it's a nostalgia.
But does it have to be? I mean, you look back, like I say, Buddy Holly show is probably one of the more popular shows we've ever done here. And in terms of a concert, awesome. In terms of a show, really, in terms of the plot line, like most musicals, is really thin. Okay, but people forgive that. Right, they'll forgive the poor acting or whatever because they're really there just to have a good time and enjoy the music. Yeah, I've never remember this 50s-ish kind of time.
The group that I did this with had done Buddy Holly the year before, and they felt like it would be kind of a good segue for it. It's not quite the same type of that, which I think is one of the reasons that they did the concert, or the picnic type of idea in the middle of it. But it was fun. There was a lot of nostalgia, and the aficionados of Happy Days would say, "Oh yeah, I remember when that scene took place. I remember that. I didn't watch it that often to know all this.
I didn't watch it that often.
I mean, did you know that Ronnie Howard, what was his character's name, Richie?
Yeah,
had an older brother.
No.
Yep. Name was Chuck.
Okay.
Chuck. He lasted for about 2 shows in the first season. He never came out of his room.
And they didn't bother explain it, right?
He went out to college, and actually Chuck comes up. He was at college. He'd flunked out. He'd come home. He was a real jerk.
Right.
Chuck shows up in this dialogue that I'm having with Fonzie at one time, and I'm like, "Who am I talking about?"
Right.
And I said, "Okay." So I found it on YouTube. I found some of Chuck's scenes, but it's good. It's fun. Would this audience enjoy it? Probably. Yeah. There's an area in there. Our generation knows it better than the older generation would, and you do have quite a few people that are somewhat older to us.
Yes, we are. Yeah, that's right. We do. But you know what? They've got disposable income, and they've got time, right. Would we like to get younger? Yeah, and we get younger when there's like Cinderella or
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz. That kind of, you tend to get a younger crowd for that. But no, you're right. we have to be careful that it doesn't become just for the older generation.
Well, no, but I mean, it's they would not connect with Happy Days the same way that they would maybe connect with even the Drowsy Chaperone or something.
Right.
That was more recent. But it's, hey, once they're here, they got to connect for their 2 hours, right?
Yeah, well, hopefully. Well, you know, there's something similar, but it's not 50s. You know, it's Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. 60s, 70s kind of thing. It's silly. As you know, like I said, is it award-winning? Of course not.
You know who wrote that thing?
I know.
Stephen Schwartz.
Really?
Yes. And it's very hard to get to do that show.
Yes, it is. That's right now. It's reserved.
Those guys,
restricted rather. Yeah.
Those guys at Upstage Theatre, which is where we did that, did Gilligan's Island.
Right.
And they had to go, and somehow, through some quirk of fate and I don't know, hitting a heartstring just right, they convinced Schwartz to release it to him because it was something that he did for his family and didn't want to share with the world.
What?
You know, something weird like that. I mean, it's why you don't see it.
Right.
It's not reserved for any reason other than the fact he didn't want it out there. Unless the right group comes to him. That's the way it was explained to me.
Interesting.
So
you just got to make your case, whatever that case
you make your case. So if all you're looking for is the thing to come off the reserve list to get it,
ain't happening. Yeah. Right. No.
So, but
wow.
But I mean, and that's because of the caliber of that writer. If he thought he could make a commercial thing of it and wanted to, he would.
Sure.
So,
but apparently, he doesn't want to.
Right.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Why do you go through all the trouble?
The story, they told me the story, and I can't remember, but I think it was something like, he did special for his daughter, and it just kind of built a little bit, I guess, and he never fleshed it out, maybe to the extent that
he would have liked.
You would do a with or something. Yeah, I like Drowsy Chaperone was a wedding gift to somebody.
Exactly.
And then it turned into a musical.
Yeah,
and it's not the same presentation.
Not exactly, no. But it's a nice story anyway. Right. Oh, this started out, hey, let's have a bachelor party, let's sell tickets, we'll give the money to whatever. Yeah.
Well, and that's how Once Upon a Mattress was, too.
Yeah.
I think it was a birthday present, Richard Rogers or somebody, by his daughter. So, anyway, they all start in funny ways. But if you went with the community theater approach and the right attitude, Mr. Schwartz might let you have that show.
Well, it's interesting. I have seen a few places, but not many.
Right.
You're right. It's not very many places.
Yeah. And there's a reason for it, apparently.
And there's a reason. Okay. We'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
We'll bear that in mind.
Bear that
in
in
mind.
One of my lines.
Don't steal that line. Don't.
You too. Yes, this is an interesting character I play. My kids saw me last night.
Okay.
Or a couple of other of the kids. Of the 5, 3 live in the area. So one had already seen it. But and when I was telling them the character, they said, "But you're not that kind of person, Dad." I said, "Well, then that shows the depth of my acting talent." But when they saw him afterwards, my son's down there, I said, "Well, did you ever hear that voice before?" And he says, "Yep." I've heard you. Supposedly to Cheryl, who's one of the actors in the show, told Will, who plays Felix, who I really work over very hard in the show, that she's watching it backstage. She says, "I really don't like watching him push you around like that the whole time." So
really?
I said, "No." If she can't separate reality from fiction, then good. I'm doing what I'm supposed to.
You're supposed to do. Well, it's interesting. We have that in Cinderella too. The same thing. The lady who plays the stepmother had to be really mean, and there's some really mean lines to this modern version of Cinderella, to the Cinderella actress, and she would cry after that because she realized how mean someone was. And I was like, it's just acting. Don't worry about it.
Anyway, no, I've had fun with that part, and I sometimes worry that it is so easy for me to do, but or it feels so easy for me to do it anyway.
How do you get into a character? I mean, you said this character was fairly easy to get into, but how do you get into a character?
Hilo was just thinking about the evil type of person that he was, and trying to be that way. Billy Hightower, who was the evangelical preacher in Bat Boy the Musical. Right. That was a fun part because basically there were about 6 lines I had to learn and about 10 minutes of improv. Okay. I mean, maybe not that long of improv, but it said, say these lines and now try to heal the Bat Boy. You have 3 shots at it. Do your best. So, so I was able to do something different every night, do things I wanted to. And I think probably what got me into the part more than anything was That part is written for the preacher to actually sing this kind of gospel song.
So you got to do the solo? Then. No.
I could. This was before I'd had any singing training.
Okay.
I've been taking voice coaching and voice lessons for a couple of years. Yeah. And I was talking to the director, and I said, I can do that part in my sleep. I said it would be fun. I said the rest of them are really for younger people than me anyway. I said, if you could I said, these guys have choirs. Get me a gospel singer. And I said, somebody very soulful. And so they got a young African American and named Adam. And Adam, I called him Brother Adam. And he knocked this song out of the park. I mean, he got ovations in the middle of the song.
Wow.
On more than one occasion. Wow. But he got me so in the mood for it with the rocking and rolling side of this that by the time I was starting to preach, it was like what music's supposed to do in the tent. I was revved up and rolling. So I just kind of flowed right into it. I did see, when I went back and watched the film version of what we'd done, or the tape version of what we'd done, next to him, it was very clear, according to my cousin, that white men can't dance. Well, they had me on a platform that had plenty of room, but still, you're focusing 8 feet up in the air, and that was a little uncomfortable to do too much jumping around, even though I had plenty of room. And he was just so good at it, and it just made it even worse. And you've seen me dance; you saw the auditions. I'm terrible. So,
well, it's like all things, we're not all maybe as coordinated as we could be, but there is a shorthand. You obviously can tell who's had dancing and who hasn't.
Oh yeah.
All right. Yeah. Because they have this little shorthand that say, okay, do this, do that, and you're like, what? It's a whole vocabulary in itself, and that's one aspect.
It's like when we did it the other night. I was doing fine as long as Hillary was in front. And then she goes down and she starts calling it, and the second she said something that I didn't jive with, I was off. I didn't know where I was. I never could get back on the step again. If she'd just let me go, I'd probably been closer.
Yeah.
So, but they know what it is: ball change, grapevine,
or even if you've done, like, say, country western dancing or square dancing, right? It's the same thing when they call it, right? After you've done it a while and then it does help you. But until you understand that vocabulary, it doesn't mean anything.
Right?
It means nothing. It's like, what? The ball change. What? You're a dancer, and like, what is that? Yeah.
I was supposed to do a very small. I was in a musical called Little Mary Sunshine. Okay. I don't know if you've ever seen that or not. It was a knockoff on the Nelson Eddy, Annette McDonald era. Okay. Except instead of Rocky Mounted Police, they were forest rangers and stuff like that. It was funny. I was an Indian chief. He didn't really have a singing part, but he had some fairly interesting things he did. And one of them was I turned one of the young generals or one of the young sergeants or something into kind of my adopted son, and we're going through this song. And he's doing a lot of dancing. I'm beating on a tom-tom. And there's one time when I'm supposed to, with him, do the grapevine step, which you're familiar with. Every bit of about 5 paces this way and 5 paces that way. But I'm tripping over myself most of the rehearsals, but I'm getting close. And about 2 rehearsals before the show star opened, they're running through it, and I'm beating on the drum, and all of a sudden I look over there, and he's over there, and I haven't started yet. So, I forgot to do it. At lunch, I was informed they were dropping that part just for me to stay there and beat on the drum, which was fine. But it's just the dancing but the dancing and the singing, the acting, all of it together, very, very difficult. I admire people that can pull it off.
Yeah, that's all right.
Well, I'd love to learn how to tap. Yeah. I am terribly uncoordinated though, so. And a very, very tight person. Not limber at all.
I'm not very limber at all, too. Yeah, so tap might be kind of fun to be able to learn.
But and as far as other parts, you asked me what parts.
What other parts?
The dramatic part, can't imagine it would ever happen, but I would love to be Big Daddy on Cat on a Hot Tin Roof.
Really?
Yeah, just this bigger than life character. Right. I mean, I like that kind of person. I think it's a fascinating character. I loved it ever since I saw Burl Ives do it. That was who it was, in the movie.
That I recall, It's I mean, that's the Elizabeth Taylor and Paul Newman, we have a lot of friends, or actor friends, but they want to do drama. Okay, and maybe we have to go through a TNT kind of thing. We need to do film or DVD, straight to DVD to do drama. TNT, right? Because drama usually doesn't do too well.
Yeah, and I'm not. I would rather do comedy.
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
think comedy's fun. I
Yeah.
am basically. I think I'm a funny person. Some people laugh at me, but I mean, I feel like I've got a sense of timing there. But it's just a big dramatic part. That would be an interesting one. Now, I don't know that you get that sells very well at all. I mean, there's a lot of really great theater in Houston, and you know they're getting 50, 60 people to come see them every night. And I went to a show, a very, very good show, well-written play, dynamite cast, only 3 guys, and I've seen one of them in some other shows too. He's really good, all consistently. Right. There were 5 of us out there.
So 3 people on stage, 5, you know, we used to joke that as long as there's more people in the audience than on stage, we're okay. So and sometimes it's not much more.
Throw the crew away.
Well, you know, like Boys Next Door, powerful play, very serious.
Yeah, that's about the mentally challenged kids.
Exactly. Very powerful play. And, you know, sometimes we'd have 11 people in the audience. And that's sad. And, you know, I said it's...
Those and if you do it in a theater like this, it's very lonely. No, I mean it's demoralizing. At least if you have it, at least the Mammoth play was in a very small place. If they had a sellout crowd, they'd have 80 there. But still, it was a shame because they acted their hearts out. They did a great job.
Well, you know, let's talk about that. You know, let's talk about some of your favorite films. I think most of my favorite stuff. Mostly is not so much about drama. Well, maybe TV. Maybe we have different likes on TV as opposed to going to some place. Like you go to Broadway, you could see a musical. I don't generally see other stuff. But just as a culture, we definitely into entertainment, whatever that we decide that is, into entertainment, and then I guess that extends to whether it's sports, or band or whatever that's we're into.
When I walk into a theater, whether it be live or cinematic. Yeah. I want to be transported to a place I'm not in normally.
Right.
That I don't remember that I will. And when I leave, I was like, gosh, for the last couple of hours, I don't really want my mind teased necessarily. Right. If I can find comedy, that's where it really is. Right. If it's, there are heavy plays that have big social issues involved with them. Right. They wear me out.
Yeah. Well, in fact, Schindler's List, awesome film. But it just drains the heck out of me when I watch that.
I remember my brother's girlfriend at the time, he married her, when The Cardinal came out. I don't know if you remember that movie or not. It was a very, very long one from what I remember. Yes. Like 3 hours plus. And I remember her talking about it. They were in early college and I was in high school, I guess, at the time. I never did see it. She says, well, I'm glad I saw it. But I'm glad it's over. In other words, it was. She said it wore out. It was draining. It was. I think emotionally it was tough. I think the length of time of the show was tough. All that type of stuff. Yeah, that's I don't think I've ever seen Schindler's List all the way through.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, one of the problems that I have with those kind of shows is the reality of them. This is something that really happened.
I don't think I want to be reminded of reality. It's not like I'm trying to avoid it. I'm well aware of the issues. I just don't want to have to experience it.
Yeah. And I know the value of that type of thing. And I have seen parts of it. And the whole part of history does fascinate me. Right. But still, it's the remembrance and here, you will watch this. I don't know. It's tough. I would rather go and laugh. I'm not an action movie person. That is carrying you into another place where I don't go ever either. Right. But to a small degree, I like it. But after a while, I get seasick watching the cars go around.
I get seasick. Some of the video games they have these days, like, I'm seasick. Motion sickness.
I could see with the audiences that I've seen here, drama would not be very popular.
No, and it can be done very well. It just doesn't sell. Right. Yeah, and I'm just saying you can't get a base crowd to come. I'm sure you can still get 1,000, 1,500 or whatever to come see it. And I mostly, I guess, we think it's for the actor. The actors want to be able to try different things. Right. And that's fine. Well, maybe there are other ways to try different things. Yeah. Stretch your acting legs or whatever.
Well, you could take it down almost to a black box level or something.
Sure.
Do a smaller venue where you could, when you're not using this one, have a show that gives these actors a chance to do something. But Houston's full of a place that seats 120 people on a big day.
Yeah.
And it's very small.
Yeah. At the black boxes, you got plenty of, black boxes or black box-like theaters, or even just smaller places, the Theater Southwest, Theater Suburbia. I mean, we can go on and on. They have these little spaces that sit maybe 60 to 120-ish.
Right.
Folks. Or Playhouse 1960. There's plenty. HVAC, you can say about that. And so, it works in that space. You can probably fill it. You can get that number of people. And also, I guess part of being closer to Houston, I would think you've got a larger concentration, but people don't have to go as far.
Yeah, there are tons of young professional or new professional companies down there. Stark Naked, Mildred's Umbrella.
Have you been to Obsidian? Yeah,
I have not been to the Obsidian space,
the Heights,
but there's a new space there called Spring Street Theater.
Okay.
That a couple of friends of mine had been part of the group. Classical theater companies using it as well. Okay. And it seats maybe 130 or so on a big day. Try, 3 sides of the stage down there.
It can be reconfigured?
Not too easily.
Okay.
I mean, you can take the sides out.
Right.
You just got risers and seats. And the stage down there, you really couldn't do it. It's not big enough to do a theater in the round, I don't think. Unless it's one guy standing there on a podium going around in a circle. But and that's probably what Obsidian's like. Right. I've never been in it.
I've never been in there either. I think it's at 60 maybe.
Yeah.
At most.
And I can't remember how many of these guys had. The last show I went to, they had standing room only. Which then I asked him, I said, was this a commercial success? And he said, no, because this was the only show that was standing room only.
Right.
And there were 4 equity actors in that.
Wow.
So you've got a minimum of what you can do. But it was high-powered, good acting.
Right.
But these people, they all have good funding from. They all got an angel out there somewhere.
Oh yeah, well you need angels. Right. You need somebody that as long as you put my name on this, that's fine, and just make it good. Whatever.
Yeah.
Still looking for those angels.
Everybody is.
Everybody. So now we got the Fiscal Cliff coming up. You think it's going to change your business any? They're coming up in the next year or so? Not really?
Fiscal Cliff, if we go over, it's going to be kind of messy in the markets, I would think. It's hard to imagine they're going to really go there. But the worst thing in some respects is that the can continually is kicked down the road. Right. We do just about this much. Something's going to have to change a lot of things, Stephen. The problems are big. The debt's big. Yeah. The receipts are only equal the entitlements and don't run the government. Yeah. The group that will be receiving entitlements, which is the baby boomers, which I'm in the heart of, are only getting bigger and living longer.
That's right.
There are a lot of issues out there, and
they're not simple. We're not pretending they're simple. Everybody wants to simplify them to just something. But the truth is, we cannot spend money we don't have. End of story. Sooner or later.
Apparently, they've done such a good job of it. They don't believe that yet.
Well, that's right. I remember in the 1980s. What was and this time we were running about a $200 billion deficit in the U.S. And they go, well, is this a bad thing? He goes, no, not maybe 1 year, but you do it year after year. Yeah, maybe that's not such a good thing. Well, we've been doing that year after year, and I think $200 billion would probably be on the small side.
Oh no, $200 billion would be a welcome. That would be balancing the budget on them. The problem. I mean, the thing is, and economically it works. If the growth of the deficit isn't larger than the growth of the GNP. Yes. It all works, and it can work, but the GNP doesn't go straight line up forever. And when you have an event like we had several years ago, where the economy fell out of bed and they're still trying to recover, then you get the Fed out there doing what they're doing, and their balance sheet's getting so extended that the money's not even real.
It's a really strange game. If I had come up with quantitative easing, I think I'd be in jail.
Exactly.
A nice euphemism for let's just kind of move these numbers around here. Let me take some money from this pocket and I'll put it in this pocket. We'll call it good.
Right. Exactly. It's even different than that. The Fed has the ability to not even worry about that other pocket. They just print some new money.
Yes, that's right.
They can do it.
And they can do it because we happen to have the reserve currency of the world.
I think in general, but It's what's one of the famous politicians of the past, I can't remember who it was, or philosopher says, the end of a society is usually when it realizes it can vote itself a raise.
Yes.
And then that's kind of where we've gotten here. We can continue to get money to go where it's not being productive necessarily. Yeah. Socially good, but not productive.
So your wife's been very supportive of all your acting so far.
She's been supportive. She
doesn't want to do it though, huh?
No interest at all. My wife shows puppy dogs. She likes her dogs. She's into King Charles Spaniels, Cavaliers, and that's her passion. Certainly not mine. And this is my passion, certainly not hers.
Right. So does she travel with the different competitions and stuff?
Yeah, a lot of them are in this area. She had one in Conroe the week we opened, actually. Okay. She's been as far away as St. Louis to actually show the dog. And she's been to Westminster to watch it.
Wow.
Knowing nothing else. She's up in New York. But most of them are, if they're not day trips, like Conroe or Katy or whatever, they're like Austin, something like that.
Well, that's not
Dallas,
so bad. Yeah.
So, I mean, they're everywhere. That's just what she's limited herself to.
She's just right.
So, anyway, but she's definitely into that, and I think that's wonderful. And she's been very supportive of this. I've come off the string of 4 shows in a row now.
That's incredible.
And she's been kind of like I think because of what she's got over there.
Right.
The quid pro quo is, well, he's not complaining and I'm not complaining, so everybody's happy. But when they offered me the part in Drowsy on the ensemble, and I just looked at, man, I've been driving up here every night for 2 months, and then this would be a 5th show, and blah, blah, and I kind of needed a break. And she said, it's your choice. She said, I'd like to have you around every once in a while. Right. And I thought, why? But she said, whatever you want to do. And then I just thought, it's time to spend a little time at the house.
Well, sometimes you need to recharge. Like I said, sometimes I just, I'm not a big TV watcher, but every now and then it's nice just to plop down in front of the TV or Netflix and do nothing.
And not even that. Read a book or just sit there
read a book.
Play on the computer, do whatever it's going to be.
Go to sleep early.
Come home and have dinner with the fam. This has been a wonderful experience. I've loved everybody I've worked with. I like the theater.
It's been a great cast.
It's been a great show.
No drama, because you've probably seen that too. Because we've had plenty of casts too, where, especially in the large cast, I remember this one. It looks like we split into 3 camps.
Really?
Yeah. So when there was a cast party, there were actually 3 cast parties.
Good Lord.
Maybe it was 4 actually. I think it was one for the musicians, and then there was actually 4. That's right. The musicians had their own, and then the 3 other camps, if you will, had their own.
Had little cliques.
Now, and mostly, I think once you got started and you started in performance, it got better. And now when people see each other, they seem to be all right. That's okay. But it wasn't really a close knit cast. This has been a nice small cast, no drama per se, compared to what it was in others. Like, not as
there's really you've got a lot of people that haven't done a whole lot of acting. You don't really have prima donnas in this or anything like that, and then you've got a mutual respect, and the guy with the most experience, who by far is the best actor, Dennis, he's one of us. He's one of the group.
He just loves being on stage. He loves this place, and that's it's like he loves this place, and he's willing to do just about anything for this place. Yeah. I mean, he would drive. I remember years ago he would drive down to Clear Lake, drop off posters and stuff like that on his own coin. No, just because he wanted to push the show.
Well, I mean, and he's been fabulous, and the rest of us kind of looked at him. But of the rest of us, we can't really claim that we should be prima donnas or have anything special. And he doesn't make any claim to it, which is good. So it's been really nice. But it is a 3-hour rehearsal from where I live. Having to come up here in rush hour is a 5.5 hour situation.
It's a long day.
And I don't mind it, but it's been going a while. And so break time, and I'll come back. Hopefully y'all let me be inside.
Absolutely. Maybe you've got some ideas, or you can help out in different ways. You get ideas for shows. All right, well, I'll ask you a question. If heaven exists, what do you want God to say when you get to the pearly gates?
Been waiting for you, Jim. I got a few jokes I want to try out on you. Let's talk. You've been having fun down there. It's time to have some kicks up here.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah,
it would be nice. Let's hope that it. Like I say, I always think heaven's going to be different than whatever our conception is, but hopefully it's not too different. not too off the wall.
Well, everybody's got their own idea of what a paradise is.
That's right.
I guess there's only one person who can set that tone anyway, or one being that can set that tone. So it'll be what it is.
It is. It's going to be what it is, and hey, that's fine.
I can't imagine that. I've enjoyed what I've had here. There's certainly bad parts about the world. We saw some of that yesterday.
That's right. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's not all bad.
No.
Like sometimes, like I said, the best and the worst comes out of people.
Right.
In these tragedies. I don't know if you ever see. There's a play called Outward Bound, and this is. I don't know if you've heard of it. This is there are people on a ship going to them. They're not sure where, and when you find out through as the play goes on that they're headed to heaven or hell. But the thing is, like you said, what's heaven to one person is hell to another person.
Right.
And it's just, it has this different perspective. So it's interesting that way. Again, it's one of those that it's a wonderful play, powerful acting. I don't know what we would go for.
Probably not that
much. House maybe, yeah.
Well, when you think about the fact that once again we discussed you have an elderly audience, I don't know if they want to deal with that. They're a little
that's right. It's kind of like, this is a little too real. Okay, no. We're out
I
here.
want to be on that trip sooner than you are necessarily. So I don't know. I know that's like the old joke of the guy dies and he goes up to the pearly gates and. Yep. Lucifer's there and St. Peter's there, and St. Peter takes him in, shows him, and says, "This is, you're one of these guys. You can pick where you want to go." And shows him, and says, "And heaven's just kind of this laid-back place. Everybody's just kind of playing harps and nothing exciting."
Yeah.
Lucifer says, "Come on, I'll show you downstairs." They take an elevator down, doors open.
Right.
All his buddies are there, golf courses, and they're playing golf, and they're having drinks, and they're dancing, and all this stuff. And he goes back up, and they said, "You make up your mind." He says, "Yeah, I think I'll." It's just, I know everybody down there, and it looks like hell's not as bad as I thought it was. So he says, okay. So he takes that choice. He says, irreversible. He says, that's fine. Goes down, the elevator doors open, and it's just fire and brimstone and people screaming and gnashing of teeth and everything. He says, what happened? He says, oh, well, we were recruiting you earlier.
Jim, thanks a lot for the
Enjoyed it.